I've been playing a lot of games recently. Shadow Generations, Mega Man World 4, even replaying stuff like Kirby's Return to Dreamland. But on December 16th, 2024, I picked up a game that would have me in a chokehold for weeks to come. Mega Man Zero. I appreciated its pleasant pixel graphics, charming GBA music style, and absolutely awesome protagonist who I'll probably make a separate video essay about in the future. But something else struck me about Mega Man Zero. This bunch of absolute hooligans. The Four Guardians. Hi, I'm Jay Renzo, and this video is a childish rant about 4 video game characters disguised as a formal video essay. I'm going to be discussing Mega Man Zero's formidable team of antagonists, X's Guardians. First on the chopping block is Hidden Phantom. Fitting, because he's the only one who actually dies in this game. What a loser. Jokes aside, I actually do think Phantom is pretty darn cool. His design is rad, with those pointy things on his head and a flowy scarf. Gotta say, I'm a sucker for flowy scarves. His actual boss fight is probably my least favorite out of the 4, but he definitely makes up for it with his character. Phantom shows up to fight Zero, and when he loses, he still tries to get one over on the guy by blowing up this factory with Zero still in it. When you get a rematch with Phantom at the end of the game, he fights just as hard and even tries to blow Zero up again by blowing himself up. This guy has a serious issue with blowing stuff up. What is he, Blast Man? But anyway, Hidden Phantom is stoic and fiercely loyal. He persistently fights for X, no matter who or what stands in his way. And he's petty enough to keep taking shots at his foes even when he's beaten. Call him a netherite hoe, because he's got serious dedication. Actually, on second thought, don't call him that. The next two are Fighting Fafnir and Fairy Leviathan. These two, despite how they may seem on the surface, are remarkably similar characters. I mean, yeah, one's big and bulky and red, while the other's slender and graceful and blue. One primarily uses fire, while the other uses ice and water. You'd think they're polar opposites, but both Fafnir and Leviathan are formidable, if a bit silly, opponents for Zero, who enjoy nothing more than a good fight. Actually, that's really all they talk about. I can't wait to fight such a powerful enemy, this, and give me your best shot, that. But they make for great rival characters to keep Zero on his toes, not to mention challenging boss fights. Leviathan ended up being the last Guardian I fought, which may have admittedly been a mistake. She was probably the easiest of these 4 bosses for me. Though that's not to say it wasn't still a challenge, I still had trouble figuring out the right strategy to beat this one. And thank goodness for the Kuenzan, otherwise I don't know how I would have dealt with those falling ice thingies. Fighting Fafnir, true to his name, put up a really tough fight. He was the only one I actually found the elemental weakness for. I fought Harpuya before I got access to the ice element, and I didn't bother trying fire on Leviathan, because what kind of idiot uses a fire weapon underwater? Even with the thunder element, though, Fafnir was a challenge to beat. A very fun challenge. I totally see why he and Leviathan like fighting Zero so much. Always a pleasure to clash with someone who feels just as powerful as you. And no one's a better example than the last Guardian, Sage Harpuya. First of all, can we just take a second to talk about the build-up to Harpuya's appearance? Zero first meets him on a rescue mission. He's tasked with saving Kolbor, some loser who got caught by the enemy. Zero walks past a bunch of fallen resistance soldiers before coming face to face with this absolute unit. Harpuya's clad in bright green, but he still looks super menacing. He's got this posture that exudes authority, and he stands even taller thanks to these cool head fins. They look suspiciously similar to that of Tornado Man from Mega Man 9, though I guess since Mega Man Zero predates Mega Man 9 by about 6 years, Harpuya's the OG, but at the same time Mega Man 9 chronologically happens like 200 years before Mega Man Zero, so whatever. Harpuya looks cool, okay? Anyway, he's the first of the 4 Guardians that I fought, and that may have also been a mistake. The battle with Sage Harpuya is hard as nails. Definitely the hardest of the 4 Guardians, at least the first time around. This guy comes at you with tons of projectiles, moving like freaking Tengu Man, not to mention some of his attacks do serious damage. It took me embarrassingly long to beat this guy, and my heart was pounding out of my chest when it was done. I was in public, sitting right next to one of my friends, and she was understandably concerned. But anyway, when I got to the final stage of the game and realized I'd be refighting the Guardians, I was horrified. I mean, facing Sage Harpuya again? I didn't know if I could do it. And then I beat him in 2 or 3 attempts. Didn't even break a sweat. It was strange, but it really showed me just how much I'd grown over the course of a few days playing this game. And logically, this can't be attributed to Sage Harpuya himself, But I'm not about logic. I'm about memories, sentimentality, and most importantly, awesome frickin' robots with big frickin' swords. So yeah, Sage Harpooya is my favorite of the 4 Guardians. Before I end the video, though, I want to look at these guys in a different way. Checking them out individually is one thing, but looking at the 4 Guardians together as one is a really interesting perspective as well. They may be the 4 Guardians of X, but they also each represent a different part of X. Phantom is his loyalty, his persistence, and the way he'd put his life on the line for what he cares about. Fafnir and Leviathan are his more childish side, but also the raw power he holds. Harpooya is X's sense of justice and the way he steps up as a leader when no one else will. All this to say, the existence of the 4 Guardians basically makes X himself the rival character for Zero throughout this series. I love this idea, since Zero was basically invented to be the foil to X in the first place. X is infinite potential, Zero is the nullification of that potential. X could be the strongest robot of all, but Zero already is. Zero is the only character who could ever rival X at his strongest, so splitting X up into these 4 characters makes a great sort of villain team for Zero to face off against. In fact, if you look at it right, the whole Mega Man Zero series is kind of a role reversal of X and Zero's dynamic in the early days of the X series. X is now seen as a hero, almost a deity for the people of Neo Arcadia to worship, while Zero is the underdog who needs to get stronger, regain his memories, and rise up against the more powerful faction. X could have been the rival for Zero, but with how we've gotten to know him as a hero who'd never betray his friends, it just wouldn't make sense. X would have been good, but the Guardians? They're perfect. And that's all for this video. I really just wanted an excuse to talk about Mega Man Zero, because I recently played the first 2 games, and they've been occupying at least 9 of my 12 brain cells ever since. Give me your thoughts on the 4 Guardians, or even the Mega Man Zero games overall, in the comments below. I'd love to see what you think. If you want to see more video essays about games and stuff, then feel free to like this video, or even subscribe to the channel. If enough of you enjoy this, and I feel the motivation to, I'll definitely make more videos where I just sit down and talk about stuff. I'm probably gonna have to talk about the 3rd Sonic movie. But anyway, have a great rest of your day. This is JRenzo10, signing off.